That's a good question to answer, because the folk religiosity in India is characterized by, according to me, 2 or 3 important elements. Number one is, this is the religion of the people on the margins. People come from the periphery. Okay, now the periphery in any society is basically the poor. Okay, the poor who are economically poor or culturally poor. Okay, meaning economically they do not have enough resources to live their lives. Okay, they are impoverished, therefore they are powerless. Because they are also economically powerless, even their culture is also not recognized as something the people, the rich, the people in power would identify as something significant. Therefore, on these 2 grounds, the marginal people, okay, are not taken seriously by those who are in power. Therefore, this is the religion of the people on the margins. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2 is folk religiosity or popular religious practices in India make people a hybrid social entities. Okay, what I mean is they do not have one singular belonging to a particular religious tradition. Okay, because they come to the shrine or they go to a particular temple or a church or a dargah in which they practice various rituals, but these rituals do not belong to necessarily to one particular religious tradition. Therefore, as a Tamil, when somebody practices shaving of head or rolling on the ground or breaking the coconut, okay, in all of this you do not have them characterized as a Christian or a Hindu or a Muslim. This is basically cultural stuff. Therefore, the multiple religious belonging is another important characteristic of folk religiosity in India. The third thing, which I have not talked about as a separate one in the paper, is the folk religiosity is characterized not by text but by practice. So it is not a text-based religiosity. Okay, it's a performance-based, practice-based religiosity. So these are 3 important characteristics of folk religiosity in India. Yeah, that's the point in my paper. I found it very interesting when I just looked at this particular ritual, to get some insights for missions in India. The important aspect of this particular ritual is it breaks the hierarchy between the host and the guest. Okay, because asanam, maybe I had explained to you what it is. It is a ritual of feeding the poor. Okay, in a shrine. Okay. So before you come into the shrine, you keep a vow for a particular intention of either to get a child or to get a job. For various intentions, people keep a vow. Okay, then they keep praying for 13 weeks. Okay, at home. The last week, the 13th week, they come into the shrine. Okay, then they offer God some kind of an offering. Either you cut a goat or a chicken, you cook a meal. Okay. It's nothing but a socio-religious celebration of a kind. So you offer these sacrifices to gods or goddesses or to a particular saint, let's say in this case Saint Anthony. Then they serve the meal to the poor. When you are serving the meal to the poor, you normally in South India, we do it on a plantain leaf. You make them to sit down on a floor, you lay a plantain leaf and you serve the meal, okay, the food. So the host, okay, the one who has taken the vow, invites the beggars who may not belong to Christianity. The beggars are not necessarily not rich, they are the poor, okay, and the beggars who are not of your caste. Often they are low caste people because they are poor, they are low caste, they are Dalits, let us say. Could be, some of them could be Dalits. The problem is, so you as a host, okay, have the resources to serve the food to those who do not have resources. Therefore, you are in this context the powerful, and the one who receive the food are the powerless. Okay. Now, this asanam has this particular characteristic of exchanging the role. So first you serve the food on the leaf to these people, then the host, who is a rich person, becomes a poor. Okay, he takes a leaf and he goes and begs, okay, with the leaf to all those who are seated. So here there is a reversal of role. Okay, the rich becomes the poor. Okay, the host becomes the guest. Okay, so there is a reversal role taking place in here. Okay, normally in the missions, okay, the traditional missions, mission to the nations, it's built on a hierarchy. Okay, the Western missionary, okay, with his resources or her resources of money, power, okay, goes to the nations, to the poor nations, okay, and helps out the people. So you are the donor, the one who receives is the donee, the missionary and the missionized. Okay, so it is built on a vertical hierarchical model. Okay, you have something to give, others are supposed to receive. So you are a giver, others are receivers. Okay, now if you follow Asanam as a model of mission, it means this hierarchy is broken. Okay, now the vertical plane of mission becomes now is brought on to the horizontal plane, where both are equals. Okay, so therefore the missionary becomes the missionized, the guest, the giver becomes the receiver. Okay, the guest becomes the host, or the host becomes the guest. Now this calls for certain amount of, as I explained in my paper, throws certain challenges to the one who missionizes, to the missionary. Namely, it means that you have to empty out your ego, okay, of your power, okay, ego of knowing more than what others do. Okay, so all this self-emptying has to take place. So that's what I would say an incarnational model. How Jesus emptied his divinity and became human, so too the missionary has to empty his or her own background of being resourceful, being powerful, being rich, okay, and come to the people who are poor. That's an interesting question, because according to Victor Turner, this particular ritual, which he calls as a ritual of comunitas, is a liminal space. Okay, but only temporarily it remains to be a place of suspension of hierarchy. Okay, so let's give an example of let us say these carnival. Okay, during carnival, people engage in all kinds of things. Okay, they give bad words about the priests and about the rulers, etc., etc. Okay, now, so there is a role reversal taking place there. Okay, the ordinary people, the poor people, the dominated ones, okay, question the dominant, okay, and ridicule the dominant. Okay, now this only takes place only for a moment, maybe for a day or two. Then once that's over, they come back to the normal life. Okay, where they reverse the whole thing back. Okay, the lay people accept the hierarchy of the priests, and the poor people accept the the hegemony of the king, etc., etc. So during then the ritual comunitas, what happens is there is only an apparent suspension of the power relations. Okay, but once that is done, they return to the same old thing. Okay, the power structure is maintained. Now during this time, what happens is the rituals during comunitas gives them a possibility to vent out their anger, okay, vent out the suppressed feeling. Okay, it's like a steam. You let the steam go off. Okay, so that the pressure is less. Okay, now Selvaraj says, which is true, I also agree with him. He says the Asanam ritual actually does not buy this particular argument of Victor Turner, because in Asanam itself, you have the the religious other, okay, the dominant religious other, let us say the host and the guest. Okay, so if it's a Christian shrine, the Christians are the hosts. The Hindus who come into the shrine are the guests. Okay, now in the Asanam ritual itself, there is a reversal of role, because the hosts, the Christians, okay, perform rituals like the guests. Okay, like they shave their head and they go, cut the animals and sacrifices they make, and all of that the disparity or the difference between the host and the guest disappears, number one. And similarly, the religious other who comes into the church, okay, performs Christian rituals like saying the rosary, sometimes attending the mass, sometimes one or two also receive communion, which is not legal, etc., etc. But in all of this, there is a breaking of this particular line between the host and the guest. Okay, so this stays on, according to him, in both within the context of ritual and also outside the context of ritual, which I think is very, very important. The Hindus or Muslims who come into the shrine of Christians go back, okay, and install these deities, let us say the statue of St. Anthony, in their homes. Okay? So it's not only that temporarily they became Christians when they came to the shrine. When they go back home, they continue to be Christians. They continue to practice the same Christian ritual at home. Okay? So that's where I think he makes a difference, to say the suspension of old relations continues to be so in the ritual realm or in the religious realm. Okay, that's how he says that I differ from Victor Turner, as regards the liminitas. Yeah. Actually, I must also correct you here a little bit. I did revisit the understanding of mission in the context of the paper I was writing. Okay, of course, I did my studies on the relevance of missions 20 years ago when I was a student of theology, where I had where I had heard about the understanding of kingdom of God, how mission has to move from ecclesia-centric to Christocentric to kingdom-centric approaches. Okay. So when I was asked to do this paper, I revisited this. I kept rereading as you call it. So it is in that context, you are right in saying that in the context of giving this particular paper, I have something to say. Now, what I have to say is this. Jonathan, in his article, talks about kingdom of God as a goal, but he does not spell out in concrete terms how to reach there. Now, one of the things that he says is, for the Asian context, you require threefold dialogue, to carry out mission. Now, when he said that, I consider that as a means to acquire or to reach the goal of kingdom. So the threefold dialogue that he talks about is dialogue with the poor in the Asian context, and dialogue with other religions, and dialogue with cultures. Now, the point I want to make is this: hospitality model provides a concrete means to carry out this threefold dialogue towards the goal, which is the kingdom of God. Therefore, it is not mission to the nations, but mission among the nations. Now, how do you carry out mission among the nations? Now, one way I am suggesting in this paper is the Asanam as a hospitality model, as a new hospitality model to carry out the mission. In mission to the nations, as I also pointed out earlier, the approach is a hierarchical one, meaning the powerful missionary with his or her resources goes to the nations which are poor, or goes to another country which is religiously different from the religion of the missionary, and there it is a imbalance of power. The powerful missionary with Western Christianity, Western powers, Western resources goes to the Eastern Asian country which is poor, which is non-Christian, etc. So this is for me a vertical model of mission. Now, Asanam hospitality model, reverses this to horizontal model of mission, where, as I said, the distinction between the host and the guest breaks. The distinction between the receiver and the giver breaks. The missionary becomes a receiver, not only a giver. okay? And the people whom you are missionizing become the givers, okay? So it's a context of mutual learning from one another, okay? Where the powerful becomes the powerless, where the giver becomes the receiver, where the donor becomes the donee. So this is an exchange of relations, exchange of resources, okay, which I think is an important contribution of Asanam as a model to missions in India.